I've been hitched to Nora for over a decade now. We were schoolmates and lived just a stone's throw away. We spent oodles of time together, and our youthful crush blossomed into something truly serious. Then came the big day, our wedding. I'd always thought of us as the epitome of a perfect couple, a role model for future kiddos, although, sadly, we haven't been blessed with any yet. So, one fine day, I got home from work earlier than usual and heard murmurs coming from our bedroom. Moving cautiously toward the door, I realized Nora was chatting with someone over a video call. The voice on the other end, a man's. Curiosity piqued. I decided to eavesdrop quietly without barging in. My heart practically dropped into my stomach when I realized Nora was conversing with her secret beau. And guess what? They were yakking about football, the sport Nora supposedly despised more than anything. Funny, huh? A woman who'd binge-watch TV dramas for hours on end, but would never in a million years switch to a sports channel. Not wanting to jump to conclusions or make a hasty decision, I tiptoed back to the hallway and then made a racket by slamming the front door, a sneaky tactic to let Nora know I was home. The voices ceased abruptly. In no time, there she was, Nora, greeting me with a dazzling smile, clad only in her lingerie. Her overly enthusiastic welcome did nothing but strengthen my gut feeling that something fishy was going on. Over the next few days, I secretly followed my wife, intending to find out the details of her affair. On Nora's sister's social media, I came across a series of photos taken a few months ago and decided to visit my wife's rural home. Desperate for a distraction, she called to complain about her boredom and shared pictures of a barbecue in the wilderness. The pictures I received at that time did not contain hidden details. However, the ones her sister posted online simply demonstrated her interest in football. Forced to come face to face with Nora, I was convinced that my suspicions were confirmed. A fierce argument ensued, culminating in my demand that she leave our house, leave it to the collective farmer, and not bother to return. Her attempts at reconciliation were in vain. Nora burst into tears, clutching her hair convulsively before letting out a high-pitched scream. I admit that her scream scared me for a moment, but I quickly pulled myself together. When she collapsed to the ground, still screaming loudly, I realized that I had to act. It's time to step in, I thought, lifting her by the elbows. Looking into her tear-stained eyes, I listened as she stammered, "Forgive me," pausing briefly before repeating with more force, "I'm sorry. I'm confused. I really don't understand anything. I can't even remember how it all started." I left right after that evening. "Oh, please, for God's sake, stop making a fool of yourself," I cut her off. I didn't expect a tearful story from a disgraced woman. I made a decision a long time ago. What kind of forgiveness can I expect? He should be grateful that I didn't kill her on the spot as soon as I found out about it. He's ruthless and then irritable. Nora grabbed my arms and yanked me toward her. Look, I had to stop him. I didn't want to participate in this conversation. I didn't want to have anything to do with him. Her tearful eyes widened even more in shock. She was caught in another lie. "That's enough. Pack your things and crawl out of here. We will sort it out in court and share everything." Remembering the betrayal, I said. That evening, Nora ran away from our house, leaving me alone. She took everything she could carry, but a week later she sent a tearful message asking me to bring her the rest of her clothes. And the address? Well, I resolved to maintain my dignity to the bitter end of this saga. I covered 200 kilometers behind the wheel. Turns out, she had dashed off to her sister's place in the country. Predictable, right? But she hadn't shared that address. It came from her new beau. I parked, gave the horn a few taps. A minute ticked by, then another. As I sat there lost in thought, it struck me. It's one thing to do something kind for someone. It's another altogether to sit outside and let yourself be demeaned. I popped the trunk and hauled out a suitcase. Wouldn't you know it, I knocked it into a puddle by accident. I flung open the back door and dumped the contents right onto the grass. Closed the trunk, slid back into the car, and sped away. The divorce proceedings flew by, left me astonished, really. Though on reflection, perhaps it wasn't all that surprising. Over the years, all we amassed were a couple of cars, one of which I scribbled over to my mom's name, the apartment, an inheritance from my grandmother. 6 months later, Nora tried to nose her way back into my world, but they say a holy place is never vacant for long. Consequently, the ex landed herself in my blacklist, dragging her kin along. Her act of treachery shattered her family bonds, but it paved the way for me to turn a fresh page, leading to the most joyous role I could ever hope to play, becoming a father.